Hey, it's Jim Wiedrick. Every day I'm working to transform healthcare in Southeast BC, and many of my faithful listeners might be saying to themselves, "Hey, where have you been, dude?" Well, guess what? A lot of people in our neighborhood are aware that I was participating as an independent candidate in our 2025 45th Canadian federal election. And it was a fascinating, eye-opening experience. I'm privileged and blessed to be able to take part in it. But, this podcast is a healthcare podcast. It's not a podcast about politics, but let's pause for a second. How do we get things changed in healthcare? Well, I'm going to submit that politics is how we make decisions in this country. And so the two are not separate. They are actually linked, like it or not. And this is an opportunity for me early in May to reflect on what I saw, what I learned, and what I think are some pathways forward if we are indeed going to transform healthcare in Southeast BC. So, as an independent candidate, I was able to truly listen to people, hear their concerns, reflect it back to the broader campaign, and I was able to bring my own thoughts to this. And that's in contradistinction. That's different than the way the major party candidates had to do things. They were all effectively reading from a script. In many ways, the questions and the way they were able to answer it had to come from their party HQ. It's one of my main arguments how I think our political system is actually broken, is that we have way too much power concentrated in the hands of leaders, and that many regular candidates, regular members of parliament, if you will, simply have to wear the handcuffs or wear the straitjacket that their party leaders put on them. And, I entered the campaign and I said, okay, I've got some ideas on how we can revamp healthcare from the federal level. Yes, it's administered provincially, but how can we revamp healthcare from the federal level for better accessibility? And I went to the first couple of forums and I was the person speaking to that notion. And it is a testimony to how individuals or campaigns or movements can move the needle. Because by the last three or four forums, there were seven in total, by the last three or four, everybody was talking about healthcare accessibility. So great. That's what we want to see. We want to see people who participate in any variation of the political spectrum talking about the issues that we think are important and that are actually going to make a difference in people's lives. And along the way, I was also talking about how we can sustain that kind of decision making improvement. And one of my key points is that we need to change the way we elect our members of parliament, that we need proportional representation. We need everybody's vote to matter each and every time, all the time. Because, man, was this election ever a case study in the devil that I call strategic voting. So many people were influenced by the narrative that, oh dear, we have worries to our neighbor to the south. So I have heard this narrative that means we must vote X. Or, oh, darn. Oh my gosh, can you believe we might re-elect X? That means we have to vote for Y. And there was no gray area in the national discussion. And because those were the two main themes, guess what also got drowned out? I didn't hear hardly anything nationally about healthcare. I didn't hear anything about environmental actions and priorities. I didn't hear anything meaningful about voting reform. And those were all big disappointments to me, like-minded folks, people who would be inclined to support me. And ultimately, smaller party candidates or independents like myself, we kind of got squeezed out of the narrative. It was a very tough election to capture what I'll call message traction. But you know what? Blessed to be able to participate in it. I would just also take a moment and reflect, though, that the other big takeaway was how the national winds were blowing so strong in terms of these created narratives that came up. And they were first and foremost in people's minds that again, the conversation went to, well, I'm voting for Mr. Carney or Mr. Poilievre. Those are the leaders of the two biggest political parties in our country. And people were getting away from, I'm electing a member of parliament in my local geographic area. And it seems to me that if we're going to really capture the true essence of what it is that folks need on the ground, we've got to connect and get those links stronger where people really feel like they are voting for their local best option for a member of parliament who can then take their consensus message up to Ottawa. That when we have these huge gaps between, say, a party leadership and the actual voter, we lose that ribbon of connectedness where people feel heard and people can shed their cynicism and folks can truly feel like when they discuss issues with their friends and neighbors that they're actually moving the needle through someone they know and trust, and that is how they're getting action on things. So, hey, that was a little bit of March and all of April in my life, and that season has come and gone, and now we have a new duly elected parliament, and I wish each and every member of that the best. So, what's my go forward? Well, I'm going to keep doing quality long-form content. I want to put out a solid guest interview once a month via this podcast. You can get it on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. We'll make sure it's available through the main channels. And I absolutely was reminded this election campaign that 1 and 2 minute answers just don't cover topics. It's kind of a test of a candidate. Can you distill down your basic notions or your basic point on a topic in 1 or 2 minutes? And I think that's valuable to make sure that your elected representative can, take the information and kind of put it in the blender and make it make sense in a brief point of view. But when we're truly going deep and trying to problem solve, it is my point of view that we need those longer conversations. And so that's what I would like to deliver with this. And, I'm going to continue all of the things that I've set in motion. I'm going to continue to invite people for coffee conversations and happy to meet them where they are. I'm happy to do small group presentations. And even just yesterday, I was very pleased to speak of my understanding about motor vehicle incidents and traffic safety issues in my local neck of the woods on radio programs such as Ecocentric on our local Kootenai Co-op radio. So good. Glad to be able to partake in that. So as always, I invite listener feedback. You can drop comments, DM me, or it's absolutely a great option to hit me up with an email. connect@jimwiedrick.ca. You've got a big topic you really think it should be covered, or you've got that great guest in our neighborhood that can really add to our deep insights as to how we can best make healthcare better. Hey, I'm all for that. So glad you're here. Glad you're engaged. And let's keep chugging along. And hey, if you need a detailed reminder of my best ideas for improving healthcare in this country, episode 1 was a great summary, and I'm going to link to that here in my show notes.